Okay. So since both groups are here, I thought of starting a fresh chapter. So I'm taking this one, right? Network security. This one, network security, 221 to 232. Okay, so take your books and you also highlight what I highlight here, right? And when I write anything here, you write it down in your book, or maybe um, a sticky note or something. And if you have any questions, just feel free to disturb me anytime, right? Okay, so here I'm going to cough a little time. Please bear it with me. Okay, so this is going to talk about the security of the network. And as you know, we have a lot of advantages of networks, but at the same time, we have some disadvantages also. So one of the biggest disadvantages is the security, which we should be concerned of, right? And why security is important? Because uh, we share and we store our confidential data. So confidentiality comes right at top, uh, because when we talk to another person through the network, like a video conference or something, chat, we would talk some confidential things, talk about. And then when we share files, those files may be sensitive files like accounts files, right? Fees, right? If it is a bank, they have a lot of important files, sensitive files. All of you can hear me, right? If not, let me know. uh, Transferred here and there. So confidentiality is one major reason why we need network security for. Okay. An organization's computer system often holds data about its people, employees, and customers. Highlight this. Okay. Products or financial performance. It could not run efficiently or sometimes at all without a network and this data. So they need to have the network, but at the same time, they need to be careful about the data that they are sharing, because there's no other option, right? It is important in this case, the personal data, that the network is not hacked, so that data is not intercepted or stolen by other parties, criminals, unauthorized users. So it's the company's uh, prime responsibility to put security in place, network security in place. You can, if you have any questions, anything you want to share, just disturb me anytime. Okay. Competitors. Now the other thing is this. Now, okay, forget about criminals. Criminals will be there anyway, right? But it's very difficult to find competitors, right? I mean, very difficult to detect competitors. If you're running a business, there'll be a lot of competitors who are jealous about you, about your company, and they will try to steal your personal, your sensitive data, your sales records, your past data, your plans for future will be threatened, right? And competitors can use criminals to steal your data. So you have to be very careful when you're running a business nowadays. Some ways to protect data confidentiality include ensuring only authorized users can access the parts of the network. In your organization, you can allow only the authorized users access to the network. How can this be done? You can give username and accounts, username and passwords or accounts only for authorized people, right? And its resources that have reason to require, highlighted, have a reason to require, such as storage, printers, internet connection. So when you're giving access to these people, you can decide to what extent that you give the permissions. Some people can be given the access to certain data, some are not. Now, when you go to our network places, you see the accounts department computer is there, but you don't have access to it. Why? Because they have restricted access to you, because they know how vital those information is in that computer. For example, managing director of a company is able to access financial records, while the checkout employee is not. Right? Checkout employee doesn't need to look at the financial records. Right? In our school, the fees details needs to be looked at by the chairman, principal, director, right? Overall fees details of all the students. But you can check only your fees details. You can't check others' fees details. That's not appropriate, and that's not needed in terms of security. I mean, in terms of network access, right? See also later section. Yeah. Stopping misuse. So one thing is how can you maintain the confidentiality of information in your network, which is part of network security, allowing only the authorized people to access the network, and also controlling the access. This is where access rights come in. This can be done using access rights. Write these things, okay? Access rights. What are access rights? They include read write, then write permission, read permission, write permission, and execute. Execute. Write this, okay? Execute. Some people can read the files, some can read only, others can read and write, others can run the programs, but others can't open the programs even. Then you have to stop misuse. In any organization, there can be employees who are who want to sabotage the work, who are angry with the boss, so they can try to misuse deliberately. So you need to protect from them also. You know, in most of the organization, the unauthorized access happens from. Pratham, are you going to say something? Do you have anything to share? Yeah. Okay. Let us know. Let me know. Not us. Let me know. Okay. If you have anything to share. Okay. So most of the time, this unauthorized access happens from inside, right? Because they have easy access to the premises, network, server room, right? Now think about our school also, but don't apply that to our school, right? Even users who have been given permission to access a network might deliberately or accidentally access data, right? You get angry, right? A teacher scolds and you get angry and you go and access his or her files. That can happen, right? I better not take exams from school, otherwise you might go and do it. Anyway, or they might even accidentally do it, right? You go and you get angry with the teacher and you go to the lab and you see that teacher's account is open. Then you hack that account, right? Which is not ethical at all. But that kind of things can happen. I mean, in an organization, especially, right? Because they have the permission. They have already got the permission. They have already got the rights. So they misuse the rights. That's what happens there. So confidentiality is of top priority when it comes to protecting your data in a network. Okay, understand? Any questions? I'm sharing these screenshots in the group, okay? So you can access it later. Right, any questions? No? Right, the other method that you can protect your data and maintain confidentiality is encrypting. Encrypting. Right, what is encrypting? What is encryption? Encryption is scrambling of data using a code or an algorithm so that only the sender, write this, okay, sender and the recipient can read. Only those two parties can read. For others, it doesn't make sense, right? So encrypting data is very important. If a criminal or other unauthorized person gains access, right? Even an authorized person gain access, right? If data is encrypted, they won't be able to read. So it's very, very important, right? In terms of an organization, won't be able to read it without the encryption key. You have heard about two types of encryption, right? Can you guys tell me the two types of encryption you have learned? Can you hear me clearly, properly? Am I lagging? Okay, great. The two types of encryption you learned for ICT: public key encryption and
private.
what is it? Symmetric, right? Symmetric key encryption and public key encryption. Public key or yeah, public key encryption. In symmetric key, we use the same key to encrypt and decrypt, whereas in public key we use a public key and a private key, both public key to encrypt and private key to decrypt, which is more secure than symmetric key encryption. Public key encryption can also be called asymmetric key encryption, right? Because we use two different keys. Okay, the other thing is correctness, right? Accuracy. Data is useless. Now we actually talking about the security of data. You might think, okay, how can this be related to security? But if you have wrong data in your system, you might use that to take decisions, to make things, to produce things, and then all your products and all your results will be wrong. You have heard about garbage in, garbage out, right? So maintaining the accuracy of data is also very important. It's useless unless it is correct. Use of the network to communicate and store data must not change data and allow data to be changed without authorization. Sometimes we might have to change data in our databases. Then we have to make sure that only the authorized people are able to change. Now, something like this I have seen in supermarkets. When the checkout operator enters the wrong data, right, wrong item code or something manually, or the quantity, wrong quantity, he or she cannot change it. I don't know whether you have seen that, right? They call that how the supervisor. Supervisor has to come and enter the password and then change the quantity, right? So that these operators, they can't play fool with the quantity and commit fraud. Have you seen? Has anyone seen that? I have seen it a couple of times. Operator cannot simply change the quantity, the wrong quantity that he or she entered. Okay. Imagine the seriousness of an error in your health records or manufacturing control system, right? Imagine wrong data entry in the hospital about your health condition can lead to instant death, right? Manufacturing control system, products had to be discarded, right? Wrong measurements changed. Okay. Next is availability. Actually, these are some of the characteristics of information. Information has to be accurate, correct, available, up to date, which are applicable for the security of the network. The network is useless if data cannot be accessed when it is needed, right? You have to have the data in hand Data will be useless if it is not needed. I mean, if you can't use it whenever you want, right? You want instant access to data at the right time. Complex systems are likely to fail at some time. Piece of hardware might stop working suddenly and you won't be able to access data. Program code might become corrupted. But it is also important that protection is put in place to prevent failures caused by criminals. Right now, this availability of data can be disrupted due to corruption of hardware, software running slow, or viruses causing disturbance to the system, damaging system files, registry, and things like that. Malware like worms overusing the resources, slowing down the system, and also a type of attack called denial of service, DOS attack. How many of you have heard this denial of service attack? How many of you have heard about this DOS attack? You have heard. Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. All right. Simply, it means denial of service means the server stops responding to you, right? Responding to your request. You know, we have a client server architecture now. So the client will always try to get services from the server. And when the server is not responding or server is rejecting your request, it's called denial of service. Okay. And this can happen due to malware installed into the server or criminals controlling the server, right? And another extended attack of this is called DDoS, right? Stands for distributed, right? This is so dangerous because you know, there are many servers around the world, right, where the work is distributed among these servers. So this is where all these servers will stop working, and then that can cause a lot of trouble, right? In DOS, of course, it can be like 1 or 2 servers which can be rectified soon. In the recent past, if you remember, certain Google servers didn't, went out of order in certain regions. So they didn't have Google services. Facebook also faced the same situation, right? When it is spread across all the servers around the world, it's called distributed denial of service, right? And in this, you highlight and write, okay? It slows down the network performance or stop it working altogether. Just imagine a power grid, right? If the power grid server stops working, it can have chaos, right? Right? Delete data, right? Some important data that are needed to run the system is lost now. It can be due to a hacking. Allow data to be stolen or eavesdropped on. Alter data or program code, right? They can even crack the code and add some unusual code, right, to disrupt the smooth running of the program, and then chaos. So that comes under availability. So data and information has to be available all the time, whenever needed. Otherwise, it's going to be useless. Okay. Understand? Any question? All right. These are general knowledge content, okay? How many pages we have to do? Up to 232. 232. 222. Right. Reasons why security is important. why do you need to protect your data? Some specific examples that of the importance of network security required for running of the organization. Okay, for the smooth running of the organization, the security is needed. I don't know, if you take our school, for example, they need to maintain your marks, right? Now, see, in school online, if they didn't maintain the marks properly, what will happen now on 4th? You are having the worst day, right? If the marks were changed by some unauthorized users, then wrong people will get the votes, and it'll be chaos, right? The business might have details of its customers, stock, and outstanding orders. If the data were lost, highlight this, and business failed, fulfill any remaining orders. This could mean losing the trust of customers. For a business, losing the trust is one of the biggest mistakes, right? Who then go elsewhere. This could lead to business going bankrupt. This has happened to a number of businesses, some of them very large. Even the school would struggle to run effectively without its network, right? If the payment gateway is out of order, they can't manage your payments. You guys have already paid. School says you didn't pay. Chaos, right? And data stored on it. So data such as contact details, registers, timetables, medical conditions, handouts for learners, presentations, right? They all are at risk. Private and confidential. Businesses, they might have some private information that they don't want to disclose to even the employees because they're so important to take management decisions. A hospital stores patient details on its network, including medical conditions, what drugs have been prescribed. There is a legal requirement to keep personal data secure, right? If the network isn't secure, the confidential leak, then the hospital could be sued. Okay, let's say insurance company, life insurance company, get your details, your patient details, I mean your details, your conditions, and then they start bugging you. Why don't you put an insurance, right? You have these conditions, right? They literally try to kill you verbally, mentally. And how have they got your conditions, medical conditions? The hospital has given. That's a serious crime. Okay, many potential patients would be put off using hospital due to lack of trust, right? This could result in hospital being closing down. Financially valuable information are also there, especially when you work with competitors. Many types of data stored on business network might financially valuable. Imagine business was planning a huge sale. Let's say there's going to be a some offers, some, let's say some campaign or something. So your competitor gets to know that you're going to have a campaign. How? By getting into your network, and they find all your plans, documents, and everything. Or maybe an employee, a rude employee in your organization, takes them, copies them, and give it to the competitor for money. That can happen. If competitor obtained details and price reductions before the sale started, it could launch it on sale beforehand, right? Before you start the offers, that guy has already started. It would undercut the business. This tactic would reduce the chance of sale increasing. Now, this is something that happens all the time, isn't it? Even with big companies. Okay, right. So highlight. I will share these. Any questions? Any? So all are general knowledge. Isn't it? This might come in essay type questions. Okay. Right. So what can you do? We saw earlier encryption was there, but other than encryption, one of the most important steps is to authenticate and validate. Authenticate and validate. Now, authentication means checking whether the user is authorized, whether it's an authorized user. You are checking the identity of the user. How do you do that? You have given username and passwords. You cross-check their username and password against a stored database, right? And when you cross-check the database with your username and password, it is called validating, right? Validation. You know, validation means whether it can be approved or not. Validate. Remember, validation is not checking whether it is accurate, right? Validating is checking whether it can be accepted. Okay, right there. New book, you write there. So you check whether it can be accepted. So how do you check the username and password? You use a technique called lookup table, right? Just like the lookup table or VLOOKUP function in Excel. So you cross-check the username and password that you enter against the username and password stored in the lookup table. And then you validate. And usually this lookup table will be there in a central server. What's the advantage of keeping it in a central server? Then you can connect, or you can try to log in from any computer in the network. You don't need to go to the same computer. And then it'll you will be authenticated, authorized, and accepted. However, other systems of authentication exist, like PIN, personal identification number, or fingerprint, right? I think these days your fingerprint was recorded, right? Or it's already recorded. It was grade 10s, right? Your fingerprint is already recorded, right? Last year. Harun?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. But you don't keep that, right? Do you keep it in the morning and evening, afternoon? Not many students are keeping the fingerprint, right? When they are leaving and when they are entering, do they? Harun?
So they didn't even the system was not there, so I think
System
they'll
is
put
not
it tomorrow. Yeah,
there.
sensor
But
is not there
did you give the fingerprint this time or last year?
this time.
This time. Oh, okay, right. Okay, fine. Yeah, so very soon you will have to record your fingerprint. So by recording your fingerprint in the morning, school knows, right, this authorized person has entered the premises and he has left the school at this time. So it's important for the school to monitor uh, monitor the students. If the details you provide match those record, then you are allowed to access. But it's just the it's just allowing access, right? But once your access is granted, you will be controlled again using access rights. Access rights. In our school, not only you, we keep the fingerprint, principal keeps the fingerprint, support staff keep the fingerprint. So based on their job role or their level, they are given different access rights to the system, right? So remember, authentication is not really giving access rights. It's basically identifying you, right? Whether you are allowed or not. And after that, they can control your access rights based on your login. Okay. Right. Then when you're dealing with your personal accounts, right? One important step that you can take is the two-factor authentication or two-step verification. What happens in this? Once you enter your username and password, it will send a code to your personal device. because they know that the personal device is with you. You can't be sharing your personal device with someone else. So they can confirm that it's you, right? Which may not be the same all the time, because there can be social engineering. You'll be subjected to social engineering, right? Someone who's close to you or close by can take your phone, or even a stranger can take your phone and ask ask whether he can take a call. You trust him and you give the phone, but to see that he has already tried to log into your account, and the two-factor authentication has sent to your code has sent to your device, and now he's trying to pretend that he's going to take a call, but to to copy that two-factor code. So that's part of social engineering. So this will reduce unauthorized access a lot, but you have to be very careful not to give your personal device to others. Passwords have many weaknesses. For example, people write them down or use guessable passwords. Programs exist that repetitively try guessing passwords. There are password dictionaries, right? To improve the security that passwords provide, an additional check such as this token system, or from SMS message sent to your mobile device. In Google, of course, you see they ask the question, did you just sign in? And they say yes. Being introduced by some businesses. This is called two-factor authentication, right? Additional security step. And it's important that you apply this to all your accounts. Access control. This decides which users have access to which data and what they are allowed to do. So this is again access permissions, access rights, access control, right? This is not physical access control. This is controlling what you can see and what you can access in the network, right? That can be done based on your account. So in order to do this, they need to have some specific accounts, right? They can't be having like a student, teacher, like in our school, right? They should have some unique accounts given to you, and with that they can control individually. Okay, right. Okay, here's more about this access control. Let's see what we can do in this. There are many different ways to help secure network. Authentication alone is not enough, right? You know about firewalls, right? Firewall is, you already know what firewall is. I will write here. Firewall is a software and hardware combination, right? To block unauthorized access from one network to another, right? Such as internet to LAN, from internet to LAN. Okay. So mainly it will block unauthorized access from internet to LAN, but at the same time, it can also monitor the data going out of the network, right? Can also monitor the data going out of the network. Okay. Right. Once a user has been authenticated, they gain access to the network. However, you wouldn't want every user on the network to have the access to the same file or every file. Access control is a method that controls whether a particular user will gain access to a particular file. Again, as I mentioned before, you look at read access or read permission. User can open the file and read its content, but not able to modify. Read only. Read and write, they're able to open it and write also. In some network systems, you might need further permission if you want to delete a file, right? And also, you're not allowed to install software. You're not allowed to uninstall existing software. Controlling the level of access a user has to a file is useful for many reasons. For example, you might want employees of a shop to be able to open a price list, but not accidentally or deliberately modify any prices. So certain information is there that you want to see, you want to show it to others, but you don't want to take any risk of accidentally modifying them. So you make it read only. Okay, something like, let's say accounts department maintaining the salary details of employees. Right now, the account department members may want to see these salary figures when they are calculating the payroll. But that's sensitive data that you don't want anyone to alter. So you make it read only. Access controls are set up by organization system administrators according to the management's requirements. So these access controls are dependent on the policies of that organization. Okay. So we have Mr. Vipula, who is the system administrator, who is setting these access controls within our school. And he monitors the other schools as well. But then again, we have in Colombo, there's another system admin or a set of system admins who looks at the overall network